What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Mac Daddy Disc Golf. Today we're at Carter Park for the fourth stop in the Flexing Down 49 Tour Series presented by the Disc Golf Dojo. So this is the first stop that we're going to cover on this channel, and that's only because I decided to make the channel right before this stop. So the other three are going to be covered in a recap video later, but a little bit about this tour series. It is a 20-event tour that's going to take place from starting in February of this year all the way till November, where there's going to be a match play grand final or finale, if you will. The way it's set up is it's a 1 day per event, so 1 round per event, and it's a flex start. So on the card today, you've kind of already seen them on screen. My dad, Kevin, my wife, Bree, and a friend of ours, Taylor, we're out here playing this flex start, and we're going to start off on hole number 1, par 3, 355. It is straight up the gut. There's a little bit of danger on both the right and the left. If you get into the trees too far, it's kind of jail. Plus, pushing 355 just perfectly straight in this wind is a little hard. And I decided to try something brand new with a Maverick. It went about as well as I could have hoped. I didn't get it up enough. Definitely didn't put enough on it. Had it on a little too much hyzer and ended up over there in jail on the left side. In jail it is. Really, all I had was a little bit of a felon roller. I was hoping it was going to turn over a little bit more. It did not. I ended up right back in jail. Really tried to give it a good run, and I almost just drained it. But we went off the top band, and we get to start off this whole tournament day with the best score that I could possibly think of, which is bogey. But we're not going to stay too down about it. We got the next hole. Hole number 2, it's a par 3, 270, and this hole goes like backwards pretty much. It goes, probably 200 feet straight away. You want to end up right near that bridge, and then it goes almost straight right. So I'm taking out a little force right here, going to try to just push it down there as far as I can. And for the first time in 5 rounds on this course, I managed to do exactly what I wanted, so we're right in front of that bridge. We'll take it on envy. We'll see if we can't just push something a little bit straight, try to get it to just fall. Perfect line, wrong height, but we take those. We'll take a par. Next hole is hole number 3. We got a par 3, 207. It's pretty straight away. The only real danger is there's some overhead branches just kind of right off the tee that you can get really caught up in if you're not paying attention. So I pulled out a zone. I've been throwing the harp here or a mid-range, kind of a truth, but I figured the zone was going to do pretty well. We managed to throw it pretty well too, and that always helps. Got a nice friendly kick off the tree, and we're kind of parked. Clean up the short little birdie putt, and get back to even par, like we like to be. And right on to hole number 4, almost immediately, par 3, 228 feet. It's pretty much just straight. There's a couple guardian trees. You don't really want to be right, but just going straight and having something that fades out is okay. So I'm throwing a proxy here, seeing if I can get it to flip and kind of ride. It did. Did exactly what I wanted it to. And then I managed to catch a tree at the very end, if you saw that flash. And it just kicked me straight over, gave me like a 30-foot look, kind of on the nose. It's probably a little bit past that. But a putt I've been practicing. I was hoping to make this one. Give it a really good run. Definitely took my time with this putt. And hit about as many chains as you can without it dropping. But we continue on to hole number 5. It's par 3, 224 foot. Also, side note, all these holes are par 3. I'm going to say it a lot. All of them are par 3s. The only thing you got to watch out for is this triple mando in front, which is playing as a mandatory mando, if that makes sense. You have to make it through, or you didn't make it.
There it is.
And today we made it, but I pushed it, cooked it a little too much, and there's some bushes back there in the back that I am not thrilled to be in. Got a really weird, wide knee stance out here. I had a halfway decent look, and just kind of missed it left. Let it fall a little bit. Not a bad comeback. Going to be an easy par. Probably only like 12 feet, 10 maybe. And we drain that. So we'll go ahead and stay even. Not how I want to be at this point in the course, but we'll take it. On to hole number 6, another par 3, 231 feet. This goes almost straight left. I couldn't find a good shot that I liked in the practice rounds. I just kind of had to throw a big hyzer and hope that it spiked down to where I wanted it to. I never really got one to land, but I figured it's better than being in the trees. Got it way up there. There was a crosswind, a nice left to right crosswind that was kind of pushing the disc back, and it definitely didn't help. I didn't get up in through the guardian trees like I wanted it to, but we're up there. We can get the par. Didn't really have a look. All I could do is go around the right side of these trees and hope to land close to the basket. And we got close enough. We'll clean up that par pretty easy. On to hole number 7. This is a pretty straightforward forehand shot. You're just trying to get something that just moves right about 100 foot down the fairway, because it's only 170 feet. There's really not a good line to get all the way down there, though, unless you're skipping something. So I just took out the felon, see if we can get close. Unfortunately, cooked it a little too much. Didn't give it enough on the right side. Kind of was scared of going in early and ended up catching those trees just straight out in front. There's still a look. It's just a long look. Probably 55, 60 feet. And I had the perfect line. It was just about a foot high from the band, so needed about 2 foot lower. Was kind of scared for this one, actually. I had a really weird, awkward straddle putt to come back, and I really wasn't thrilled. But we barely snuck it over and we made it in there for the par, so we're staying even. Hole 8's another par 3, 220 feet. This one's also kind of eluded me. I don't know why. It's an easy stall hyzer forehand, but I just couldn't figure it out in the 5 practice rounds I played before this event. But took out the force, gonna see if we can get it done today. And it was almost perfect.
That's close. It was so close to going in. Pretty close.
So close to going in it was. Just a little bit behind the basket. It probably wasn't as close as I thought it was, but I was ready for chains. Either way, we clean up that birdie. I'm going to go ahead and go to 1 under par. Again, not where I want to be, but moving into hole 9, not a bad spot. So par 3, 333 feet. Left and right is dangerous, and the tree right in front, really all it's going to do is stop you and put you in a good place for par. If you want to get the birdie, you got to make it around it. Took out a rive, going to try to push it on the left side and see if I can get it to skip underneath the tree. Didn't quite get it flat enough. I definitely had it on a little bit of hyzer out of the hand. I'm just glad that the tree stopped it, or else that was going to be in jail on the left side. So gives me this nice easy look for a potential birdie on a little step putt. Decided not to step that time, but came up short either way. I think I was a little bit worried because there is OB back behind and I didn't want a long comebacker. So we'll clean up the par and go into hole 10, which is probably the hardest hole on the course. So this is a 361-foot par 3, and it pretty much leaks right at the very end. So you want to get about 300 straight and it'll leak right, and then you almost have to come back left to have a real good shot. Decently tight fairway, and there is water on the right side if you really cook one over there. Threw a Maverick, and I pulled the heck out of it. Caught almost the first available down there in the fairway and just had not a great kick. But it wasn't the worst kick because I had this. And that's a little justice on a flex. And it got up there. It's not close enough for me to pick up the par really, but it's down there close enough to make sure that I get the bogey. I gave this a little bit of a run, but really I'm so far out and this is not my range. I'm just trying to land it up somewhere close to the basket, close enough to just tap in that bogey. And I set the camera up pretty poorly, but that did snuggle up there right next to the basket. Easy little tap in. We almost got to make fun of Taylor for missing that putt. On to hole 11. This one's a little bit scary. It's a par 3, 209 foot. There's really nothing awful about it other than the fact that it is a pretty narrow gap right here. You can see it's just real tight. Took out the zone, just trying to push it through. I don't really care if I make it all the way down there, just want the par. So, of course, I saw it off, and I let it go early. We ended up not too terribly deep in the trees, just right on the edge. So, again, we're going to take a harp out and do that little flex forehand just to try to get down there for a look. And we execute well enough. It's not as close as what I would like it. It didn't turn over as much, didn't give it enough height, but we've got this for the par cleanup potentially. Best putt of the day, 100%, was feeling that one. And then we move on to hole 12 with a little bit of confidence built, so we're still even par, but this 195-foot par 3 with really nothing in the way is a pretty good hole to have some confidence for. Really got that proxy out of my hand clean, and it skipped up just super perfect. Little fist pump action, gotta love it. And gotta love the birdie cleanup too. We'll take that. We get to move back down to 1 under par, heading into hole 13. This one's just a nice little Anheuser, just fade off into the distance with a Meteor or a Proxy. 203 feet, nothing crazy. We're way down there to the right, so you're going to see the disc fly up in just a second. There it comes. And I didn't get as much on that Meteor as I wanted. I really wanted it to be a little farther down, push a little harder, but we're here. We'll take the par. I do have a little gap between these trees. And I'm leaning for it because I thought it was going to hit it. But leaked it left, as I do with most of my putts, and we're going to have this little cleanup for the par. And clean it up we do. Get to stay at 1 under par, heading into hole 14, a par 3, 205 feet. This is just a straightforward throw something that's going to fade left hole. And for this shot, I took out my trusty harp. Give it a little bit of an Anheuser just to let it get around the corner, and it just skips up just about perfect. Another fist bump. We gotta love it. I have just not felt confident with the putter in a while, which is why I'm taking so many practice swings on a 6-foot putt probably. Just haven't been feeling it. Really been stressing over them. But we get to go into hole 15, 2 under par now. This par 3, 191 foot, has eluded me every practice round. Really, it's set up perfectly for a flex forehand with a nice felon, and I think I had a good line here, but I just missed a little bit, and you'll see why. Just let it go high on me. Caught the very first limb that was hanging down, and it just knocked me straight into the fairway. So we get to do another flex forehand. Well, this is more of just a normal hyzer forehand with a harp. Just see if we can't park it close. And I think I did that about as well as I could have, because it just settled up real nice. We'll tap in, keep the par. On to hole 16. This par 3, 208 foot, is tricky. So it doesn't really reflect in the picture there, but there is a steep drop off right behind the basket. If you cook one down there, it is absolutely jail, and you're probably lucky to get a par depending on what you got. I'm trying to just flex a little harp down there and see if I can't get it to turn over and snuggle up close. So of course I throw it right in the ground, because what else would you do when you're trying to make a birdie?
What I wanted. Didn't get it up in
Not
the
thrilled.
Yep.
But we got to bounce back. We'll take out the harp again, just the exact same shot, but hyzer this time. And it just barely makes it around that tree. Gives us a nice little cleanup for our par. On to hole 17, par 3, 249 feet. It is legitimately straight away. The only trees you're really going to get are right off the tee left and right off the tee right. Other than that, it's behind the basket about 4 feet and you're in trees. So you're trying to put something just about 250 and let it settle. Threw a hex, got it out a little wider than I wanted and a little harder than I wanted. It's hard to see on the camera, but I just skipped right behind the basket and just cooked right into those trees. And I'm pretty jailed up back there. I've got a little look at the basket, but it is definitely just full of crap. And crap, it did hit, because that putter just flopped out of my hand. It hit one branch and just said, nope, I'm done, and sat down. But we get to try to bounce back and get our last hole, hole number 18. This is a pretty standard, just throw it and let something go left. There is water down by the basket, but I had yet to reach it before this round. I threw my newer felon this time, and it probably was a mistake because it's hard to see on camera, but it just went right in the little gap down there, and I went right into the water. So this is about, 3 meters or 3 steps off of my OB, and I'm just trying to save something for par to keep this 2 under. Death putt made. Final score 2 under par. It is definitely not the round that we wanted, but it's good enough for government work, and we'll go ahead and just move on to the next. So overall in this event, we finished tied for 8th in MA2. Really not the result that I was looking to get, considering how scoreable this course is. It is really just a whole bunch of par 3s, a lot of them under 300, really reliant on getting off of the tee cleanly. And that's not a part of my game that I'm super confident in, especially in these less than 200 foot or just a little over 200 foot holes. My straight shots with putters, my tiny moves with a mid-range or maybe like an approach disc, it's just not something I'm comfortable with. I've always felt like upshots are a good part of my game, but upshots don't really go 220 most of the time for me. I try to get as much distance as I can, so usually my upshots are in the more 100 foot range. I would actually say that my biggest gap in my game is probably that 100 to 200 foot mark, and that's kind of what this course was all about. So end of the day, not a terrible round. We ended up shooting 914 rated, so when we look at the actual tour standings, we're still top in the leaderboard. Tour points are based off of the round rating that you shot minus 600 points. So we shot a 914 minus 600, we get 314 points, tour points, for that event. And it's the top 12 rounds that you play are what's calculated into your tour points. So right now we're sitting in first place in MA2, which is awesome. And we have almost a 100-point gap between us and the second place player. And there's only about 7 of us that have played all of the events since the very first one. And I'm hoping to keep up the trend of going to every single one. If I make all 20, I think I have a pretty decent shot of ending up in like the 920-ish rated round, so about 320 points for each tournament event. And hopefully that puts me in a good position to be ready for the finale. So the finale is a double elimination match play event that's supposed to take place over potentially 2 days in November. I'm still not quite sure on all the specifics, but I'm sure it's going to be a good time. And I'm looking to seed myself as high as I can and maybe have a chance of winning the MA2 division. Either way, there's always another tournament, there's always another event. If you're interested in seeing more of this Flexing Down 49 tour coverage or seeing kind of what I'm doing to practice for the events, be sure to stay tuned for videos in the future. But until then, throw them straight, throw them far, and we'll see you on the next tee.